Men are tired of women. Women are tired of men. Men are completely fed up with the modern United States dating scene. So you know what they're doing? They are leaving the country, using their passports, and finding their wife abroad. In this video, I will be discussing from a biblical perspective whether this is the best thing for us to do. Should we be leaving the country? Should we be searching abroad to find our significant others? Stay tuned.
Guys, look, stop. I'm just going to go ahead and say this because I've had enough of this shit, reading the comments and just talking and seeing that nobody's going to change. Nobody's even going to get the message. Stop dating women in the United States altogether. I know I said stop. Don't marry a woman. Don't even with them at all now.
Man, somebody jacked him up. Let's address the concept of dating outside of the country. Let's just get this out the way. There's nothing wrong with falling in love with a woman from a different country, marrying her, and living happily ever after. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. But there are some issues. It's a high likelihood that when a woman is from a different culture, she is going to take you off and require you to embrace what she knows, what she is, how she was raised. And in fact, when you get married to her, you should do that. You really should do that because that's your wife, that's your spouse, you're one with her. And we have some issues written in the Bible, some famous, popular biblical characters that did this in the wrong way. First up is your boy King Solomon. Now, King Solomon, we all know, or we should know, if you didn't know, King Solomon wrote the book of Proverbs. Proverbs is one of the wisdom books along with Ecclesiastes. Some scholars believe that he also wrote that book. 31 chapters of endless godly wisdom. The King Solomon prayed to the Lord for one thing, and that was wisdom. And God gave it to him. He gave him all the wisdom that he could desire, he could need, and he became so popular all throughout the land. Queen of Sheba visited the King Solomon and brought him a whole bunch of gold and all these things, and to test him. She went to test him to see if he was really wise, as everybody was saying he was. He proved himself. I mean, he was conqueror, king, everything. And this is where he went wrong. There are proverbs against what he wound up doing himself. So this is 1 Kings. This is 1 Kings 11:1. King Solomon loved many foreign women. In addition to Pharaoh's daughter, Moabite, Ammonite, Edomite, Sidonian, Hittite, from the nations about which the Lord had told the Israelites, you must not intermarry with them, and they must not intermarry with you, because they will turn your heart away to follow other gods. To these women, Solomon was deeply attached in love. He had 700 wives, which he also shouldn't have done, who were princes, and 300 who were concubines, and they turned his heart astray. When Solomon was old, his wife turned his heart away to follow other gods. He was not wholeheartedly devoted to the Lord, his God. Wholeheartedly. See, you can't be wholeheartedly devoted when somebody you're with ain't with what you're with, as his father David had been. Solomon followed Ashereth, the goddess of the Sidonians, and Milcom, the abhorrent idol of the Ammonites. He did what was evil, unlike David. He built altars. And he ultimately made the Lord angry, which ended up in a lot of trouble. So the point is, what is your purpose? What does God want you to do? Where is God leading you? Does God want you to live in another country? That should be the driving force. Does God want you to live there? Is your purpose in the Lord? Is God's purpose for you? The reason why you were born is to live in another country. Or does he want you right here? Does he want you to serve in some area where you're from, where you know the language? We're not even going to talk about that, because if you're trying to marry a woman that's from a different country and you can't even speak the language, she going to be talking all around you. And I'm not saying that they're just untrustworthy, but at least for me, I got to know what you're saying. You can't just be talking around me and I don't know what you're talking about. So what is God's purpose for you? Where is God leading you? What talents has God given you? What position has God placed you that this woman, wherever she's from, can aid you? That should be the driving factor to any marital decision. Can this woman help you fulfill God's purpose in your life? But let's just get real. The reason why a lot of men want to date women from different countries is because they're easier. A lot of these women come from other countries and they are not living in very good conditions. I mean, the country conditions are pretty abysmal. And what comes with that, when they meet an American man, number one, the idea of living in America versus where they live now and how they're living is just night and day. Night and day. And so that's why they are putting you on a pedestal, because you're a millionaire comparatively. Especially if you're making US money, if you're making money in the US and you live in another country, yeah, the exchange rate, is berserk. You could be six figures here, but six figures in a different country, you're basically a millionaire. And with that, there is a lower expectation to how you should treat a woman from her perspective. So if you date an American woman, she puts her expectations are up here. When you go to a different country where she ain't got running water or electricity, her expectations are down here. So it's a lower bar for you. And this is the reason why men are doing it. Oh, Zach, no, women, I just love the culture. They're just so much nicer and they're more submissive and they just treat me better.
Stop the cap.
Really? They're easier, or from your perspective, they're easier. And if things get too bad, you get to leave. You could hop on a plane and come right back to the United States, and you got to leave. And if she doesn't have a green card, if she doesn't have a passport, some countries it is expensive. It's expensive, and there's a lot of red tape that they need to go through in order to get to get on a plane to America. And so when you're tired of her, or when you're just tired in general, you got to handle some business, you fly back to the country. Leave her where you found her. That allows men to feel like they're not trapped. And I know some men feel like marriage is a trap. Marriage is, there's just no going back. It's like, well, if I marry this woman from Brazil and she gets on my nerves, or I need a break from her, I'm just going to hop on a plane. And I'll be back. So you're basically neglecting her. And listen, if you're just dating and sleeping with these women and you're not even attempting to marry them, then you're completely out of pocket from a biblical perspective, period. But that's, like I said, I gave you the benefit of the doubt at the beginning of the live stream. I said, listen, if you're trying to date for marriage, if you're trying to, and she just so happens to be from a different culture, other cultures are amazing if they're not leading you away from God. You'll be surprised what some of these people from other countries, from other world, what they believe in. And you would think that it's Christian, or you think that it's what you know, what you've seen, but it's not. So men are doing that because it's just easier. It's easier. The bar isn't as high from the woman's perspective. She's not going to hold you to as high a standard as an American woman would. But the problem with that is that this is from her perspective. This is not from God's perspective. You still have to live up to the godly standard of how a husband should treat a wife, period. You have to live up to that standard. What is that standard? Obviously, that is Ephesians 5:28. Because we're talking about husbands here. We're not ladies, we're not on y'all today. I appreciate you joining or rewatching it on the rewatch. I got to figure out a better way to say that. Watching this on the rebroadcast, I appreciate you. But today is for the men. Today we talking to men. So here it is. So this is Paul talking to the church in Ephesus. He's explaining the nature of a Christian marriage. In my opinion, the best marriage and the only marriage. But this is God's word on how husbands should treat their wives. In the same way, because he just finished talking to the wives, in the same way, husbands are to love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. For no one ever hates his own flesh, but provides and cares for it, just as Christ does for the church, since we are members of his body. For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. This mystery is profound, but I'm talking about Christ and the church. To sum up, each of you is to love his wife as himself, and the wife is to respect her husband. So, love your wives as your own bodies. Provide and care for. Those are the verses that drive this lesson, this command, I would put it, from God for husbands. So the question is, in this woman from a different country who has lived not as extravagant a life as you or as other people in this country, are you providing for her? Are you caring for her? Are you treating her as your own body? Basically, are you treating her how you want to be treated? Are you nurturing her as you would your own self? Are you caring for her? If you cannot live up to this standard, then you have no business marrying a woman from anywhere. And you can't escape the gaze of God. You might be able to escape all of the problems of American dating in general, but you can't escape that. And you certainly aren't going to escape. Eventually, they're going to be, any woman is going to be like, yo, what are you doing? Like, you're I'm not happy. no matter where she's from. So if you're trying to escape this higher standard, this heightened level of scrutiny that comes with dating a woman that actually has had a first world life, you're out of pocket. You're out of pocket. And that's not how God has called you to live.